Talk about it anymore. I'm gonna wait till I get on stage and then I'm gonna tear his ass up, right? But I didn't realize I only had 8 minutes worth of comedy. He was a headliner. So I dropped my 8 minutes and I got off stage like, yeah, right? And he went on stage and literally did 25 minutes on me. Right? Like 25 minutes. And I was looking, what you gonna do about that? He did 25 minutes on me and did another 45 minutes of other material. And that's when then I was like, fuck it, man. I think I might have stole the weed from myself. But I guess the end of the story was we didn't really look at the car that well. So on our way back, we found it. And then I guess you want to say it, that was like a peace joint or whatever. But yeah, and I'm not a person that really believes in comedy classes until I heard and know that Doc is doing it. Because personally, I don't think you can teach somebody how to be a comic. You can give them the tools and you can give them the mechanics, but it's got to be something deep inside of you that wants to do it. Doc can write you a million jokes right now. You have two people that deliver them. The one that delivers it just the way he wrote it, and the one that put that extra emphasis into it, and the one that made every word mean something. It was a point in my career, like I have funny jokes, and I started watching my set. I would watch my set with no sound on, and people were like, how you gonna watch this shit with no sound on? I was like, because I wanted to see how interesting I was without you hearing what I said. You know, you got people who can just stand there like this, like, knock, knock, who's there, right? And you don't get it. But then you got that same person be like, yo, knock, knock. You know what I'm saying? It's taking it outside of what it is, you know? And like getting to the point where I call it trimming off the fat. When you first start, when you're trying to get to the goal of having 3 or 5 minute sets, if you're trying to get a 5 minute set, normally people say you got 5 minutes, they only got 2 minutes. And when I say that's because you got the 5 minutes when the crowd has been drinking, when they super excited. But when you have that crowd, everybody in the crowd's had a bad day, that 5 minutes turns into like 2 minutes quick. And then you gotta fend for yourself. You know, I believe in Doc's class. I don't believe in everybody's shit because I know Doc is not a person like, Doc's not a failed comic that's doing it just as a source of income. I know he's doing it because he's passionate about it and he really cares about the art of comedy. I think Doc is one of the only comics that really cares about people stealing jokes. A lot of people don't even care about that anymore. You know, but you know, his work ethics and things that he's accomplished, and for a person to go through, you know, I'm just real. I love this dude to go through the health issues that he's dealt with and still, you know, want to maintain relevance and not just maintain relevance as simply person on stage, but when he hits the stage, he knows he's got to rip the room in half. And I've never seen him ever go on stage without ripping. Those are some things you can take from him. I remember years ago he told me, Donnell, and I was going through, mentally you go up and down, and he told me, yo, D, whenever you perform, whatever problems you have, the minute you hit the stage, you got to leave those problems on the side of the stage. But the minute you get off, you got to pick the shit up. It's still going to be waiting on the side. It's still going to be waiting on the side of the stage. But, you know, he's what I consider a comic. So if there's anybody can, like, he can't make you funny, but anybody can give you the guidance and help you go there, he's a guy. You hear people say, you're going to do a show, and they're like, make me laugh. And my response to anybody telling me make me laugh, I can't make you laugh. That's a court jester or a clown. But I can get your brain to the point where I can help you laugh. And I mean, just in close, I want to say, Doc was like, would you mind coming to my workshop? I'm like, dude, you were like the first person that taught me the basic setup of a joke. First person told me that there's a beginning, a middle, and an end to a joke. Because all I thought I had to go on stage and say, look at this nigga here. I had enough attitude where I would get a laugh, but then they'd be like, what did the nigga here just do, right? You know, he taught me like beginning, middle, and end. And I want to say this too. Brody, Brody, this is your first time here, right? Yeah. Brody's, I consider one of my youngest, you know, kind of took him under my wings in LA. And I feel like it's like 3 generations of means right here, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, grandpa, dad, and then my youngin.
Comedy roots.
And sometimes I try to give him advice about certain things, but him being so young, he didn't get it. I was like, well, maybe it's time for you to listen to Grandpa's lessons. You don't want to listen to shit out there.
Tell us about comedy on the farm, Grandpa.
And I was surprised to see Brody here, but at the same time, I was excited because that showed me what his commitment is to being better. You know what I'm saying? He does well for himself, but we can never not get better.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Somebody, a friend of mine, this young lady I know, I remember her when she was a student at Howard University. Now she's like head of development at BET, or one of those VIP situations. She's from here, I'm from the area. And I was performing, she came to my show, and after the show, I said, I'm proud of you, right? And then she texted me the next day, she said, you know, that was kind of weird. Here I am going to a guy's show, selling out his show, doing his thing, and you said, and I said I was proud of her. I was like, I know how hard it is to maintain relevance in the entertainment business, and for her to come from this area and be able to create an opportunity for herself, there, I was like, you know, my hat goes off to her. But honestly, everybody, I know I'm talking a little too much, but I have a phrase. I have a phrase say, go hard or go home. This is another thing I didn't mention that she wrote in her text. She was like, Donnell, I remember 21 years ago when you decided that you wanted to do stand-up, you were excited about it, and she said, I know that there was times where you wanted to quit, but you kept going with it. And I texted her, I said, I really appreciate that you noticed what my commitment was. I said, but after a 21-year career, I can honestly say there was never, ever one moment that I felt like I wanted to quit. Not one time going through not having anything, going through losing girlfriends because I was broke. It was not one moment, because they would leave your ass if you broke. The dick game wore out. That shit. I kept her in there with the dick for like a year, but after a while, she was like, I'm good with that. But there was never, ever one moment where I said, I gave myself another option, or I said that this is something I think I might want to do. And I think that's why, you know, after 21 years, I think deeper into my career, I'm starting to get a little bit more success because I've been through the trials and tribulation. You know, I've been through the young side, being crazy. But now, like, my total focus and my total commitment is to get better every time I go on stage. Every time you go on stage, you can't look at it like, even if you have shows lined up, you can't get ahead of yourself. You know what I'm saying? You can't predict your next fight because of how you fared in this fight, and that's how people get knocked out. You get like 2 shows where you get comfortable. People are always like, you know what? This is my closer right here. I'm gonna rip with this, but you don't know what night you might have to bring that closer up. I remember there's times where they didn't feel me, where it's stuff that I was doing it for 40 minutes of my set, I had to bring that shit up. And I had to challenge myself. And I tell anybody, when you get to the point in your set where you can get complacent in it, or it just seems like it's day to day, and it's routine, the robotic set, when you're not feeling it, challenge yourself and take your closer and bring it up front. People are, how can I do that? If you do that, if you're true to it, if you take your closer and you open up with that within the first 5 minutes of your set, first off, your crowd is going to be up with you, and it's going to force you to put the same energy. It's all psychological. It's no one closer bit. You got stuff that is strong and solid, but I consider it's a closer attitude. You know what I mean? You have to have the attitude that everything that comes out of my mouth is going to be funny. And even if sometimes I compare comedy to stand-up. I mean, stand-up to boxing, where every opponent that you have, every audience, it's a different strategy. You know, you have a plan, but you never know when you're going to throw a punch, you're going to throw your haymaker, and it don't hit. You got to go back to the drawing board. Some nights, you're going to win with a straight, complete TKO. There's some nights, I call it, you got to go to the scorecard. You know what I mean? That night when you didn't know if it was up or down, and at the end you're looking around in the audience, and you feel like it's like some judges for like Don King. You know, you like Judge Lopez scores at 112, 113. Judge Michael scores 111, 117. In your mind, you're like, okay, I can't add this shit all up. And then and Judge Smith scores at 1 so you still waiting, and then you hear this. And still, you're like, shit, I still got the victory, you know? So I would say, you know, study hard, go home, man. But another thing to remember too, man, don't take yourself so serious with comedy. it's always got to be a point where you have fun. One of the things I used to tell Brody had his jokes down, but it was like he was so excited about trying to impress me, he was worrying about me than his audience. He was like, how did I do? I'm like, fuck me, nigga, ask the audience. You know what I'm saying? Is like, you got it. I told him one of your qualities that you have, people want to see you have fun. You have people that have that angry style, but people, a lot of times, you can crack a room and get them more comfortable just with a nice smile. You know what I'm saying? At the right time, that might buy you some time. So, just have fun with it, you know, continue. Obviously, everybody in this room has work ethics or you wouldn't even be here. You know, you be walking down the street, fuck that class, I'm gonna do it myself, you know? But, you know, if you're here and you're under good guidance with Doc, yeah.
Can I ask you a question? Do you have any advice specifically for female comics? The dynamic's a little bit different.
My advice for female comics is never consider yourself a female comic. You know what I'm saying? The minute you start saying, it's harder for a female comic, you're out of the game. You know what I'm saying? You got to look at yourself pound for pound. Of course, there's going to be situations you deal with in the industry, but you got to look at yourself pound for pound as a great comic. You know what I'm saying? Even when I host rooms, I never would belittle a female comic by introducing, y'all ready for a female comic? No. Are you ready for another comic? Guess what? She happens to have a vagina and tits. You know what I'm saying? And I'll always appreciate a comic that a female comic that doesn't have to rely on her just being a female.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Get some funny stuff, and we notice that you're a female. One of the hardest things for me to do when I left DC to go to New York, because I was just working a lot of the black comedies, urban room, nigger nights, whatever you want to call it. Let's just be honest, you know? And I used to hang out with Tony Woods. You know, Tony Woods was another one of the guys that was my mentor, right? And I used to go on stage, and the only thing I would say, black people, white people. And I used to always think that, I was like, they're not gonna get me, man. Look at these white people looking at me, man. They don't know shit about me. Tony Woods told me, he said, Shorty, listen, it don't matter if you're black or white, it matters if you're funny. And I was like, oh shit. You know, and I had to get that mental block out of my head, you know, and just perform for whoever it was. You know? Yeah, but don't do female comedy.
I have another question. It seems to be that having a sort of a comedy partner or somebody you can sort of, you know, like we were doing these little spar sessions, is that pretty critical? I mean, I know you come across people throughout your lifetime and you pal up with people or you meet them at
I really, to be
mics.
totally honest, I don't befriend I don't really like a lot of comics. Because normally they're bitter and they're the people that want the same job that don't understand that there's a lot of jobs. You know what I mean? It's a handful of people that I can say I respect. I mean, Doc is one of them, Tony Woods, but for the most part, Tracy Morgan used to say this: comedy is not it's an individual sport. You know what I'm saying? And to be totally honest, when it comes to the only person you're ever going to have to deal with every day is yourself. You looking in the mirror. You can look out and try to get advice all you want, but the bottom line, if you really want to know the answer, just look in the mirror and look at yourself real hard. And you know what your shortcomings are, but we try to make excuses for ourselves. You know why certain things didn't work. You got to be honest with yourself. This didn't work because I didn't put everything into it. And you always got to realize that it's something you have to do to become better. And don't get caught up in those open mic situations where you got 10 comics going up, right? The first 4 bomb. Now everybody is writing their bomb material. And they feel comfortable with bombing like everybody else because they blame it on the audience. You know, the worst thing you could say, how was it? And you get off stage and you're like, man, that audience was whack. No, it wasn't. It was you. It's not their job. They'd be like, well, they wouldn't. You have to figure out a way to get them. That's what your job is. You know, it's never, ever, 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 ever the audience. Unless you had a spot in Brooklyn where everybody's drunk and they didn't search and people got guns. That's a whole different situation. But it's never the audience, and it's always you. And the more you can chin check yourself, and the more you're willing to go back to the drawing board, no matter what part you are in your career. You know, just like a year ago, I told myself, I'm like, what the hell is different about my stand-up now? And I realized, like, I said to myself, you're too good. The reason why I say that, I felt like I was so good and I was so polished that I didn't have to get the mindset of going back to the drawing board. You know what I mean? Taking a joke from scratch, challenging myself to do a joke that's really not working, that I gotta really figure out to twist it out. You know, like I always say the most interesting comic for me to watch is a new comic, because you see the fear of every joke having to work. You know, you see it in their face like, oh shit, that didn't work. But when you get a seasoned guy, sometimes when I call them like super polished, where they got that swag like, well, I got about 5 more jokes I can just slide into. When that person has that joke like, if this joke don't work, I don't get that $20 gas spot. You get that 5-pound bag of potatoes, those bologna, that, you know what I'm saying? It's different when you doing it to make it mean something. Yeah.
I go to a lot of, try to see a lot of comedy shows. I travel a lot for work, so whenever I go to different cities, I'll go to see shows. So I've seen a lot of celebrity comics perform. And one of the things that I noticed a lot when they're really big, it's like they don't really work on stage. They just kind of say things and people laugh because of who they are. So
yeah, but that really what separates the real deal comic from the one that just wanted to use a little comedy to get to a platform to turn into an actor. You know what I'm saying? You got different comics. You got comics. I'll say like myself, live, eat, sleep and shit like Doc. People like Dave Chappelle. People like Tony Woods. You know what I mean? That like they believe in being. They love stand up.
Right.
It's in their blood. You know. But that's what separates. We can ask ourselves that question forever and ever. But it comes to a point like those are the people that make you who you are. You know what I'm saying? The people that don't take the extra effort are the ones that give you your identity and make you great and make you stand out. You know, people always, I mean, with a 21-year career, there's never been a chance that I've thought about not doing stand-up, because I know that whether I get another acting gig or whatever, I've built enough brand where I can make an honest living doing stand-up,
Right.
and people can't, you know, they can't take it away from me. You know?
Yeah, I was nervous about coming to the show last night. I came to see Doc because I just love him.
Right.
And then I was surprised to see Brody. I met, he and I met a few months ago, just kind of out here. But then I was telling my husband, I was like, I haven't seen Donnell stand up before. I wonder if it's, if he's good.
That's so funny you said that, because people, and if I'm cocky about anything, it's my stand up. The acting, whatever, it's your choice. It's you, the person watching, decide if it's good enough. But I always tell people, they be like, yo man, I love you on Chappelle Show, I love you on so and so, and I'll tell them, if you love Chappelle Show, you love like my acting stuff, I guarantee you'll be a super fan after stand up, because that's the thing that I practice every minute of my life.
Yeah, I have to say it was. Like I said, I've been to a lot. That show last night, all 3 of you.
Let me explain something.
Was
I told Doc,
ridiculous.
the last time we worked, where we were in North Carolina, right?
Yeah.
And some comics, they don't want anybody to go in front of them that's got heat. They
Right.
wanted to be like, and they want to turn it up. Me personally, I want the person going up for me, I want them to have me in the back shadow boxing. I want to stretch it out. It's gonna be it's gonna be okay. Oh my God! And I told Doc, I was like, and Doc is not an opening act. He's a headline, bona fide headline. But this is where the Karate Kid element of it comes in, because as much as I knew he was ripping it, and I know he gave me guidance to show me, I was like, all right, Pops, but I can't let you down. So, let's go, motherfucker, let's get it in. So, and I mean, I know it's a lot of headlines wouldn't bring a bomb headliner in front of them, but I know, and I've always felt, no matter how hard you go, if you real to it, it's gonna be something inside to make you take it up another notch, So.
You're a real headliner. That's what a real headliner does.
Yeah.
It takes that show to the next level, and you do that better than most.
I know, but coming in behind you, it ain't too many levels left. How many levels left? We're going straight up now.
Hi, I'm Ida. I stayed for both of your shows last night. I liked the entire act, beginning to end. I noticed right before the show you were real quiet. You sat over there like you was almost self-reflecting. Are you doing that, taking in your audience, like surveying like the crowd or the location? Because like you said, you have your set down, but like say for instance, you were performing in Idaho.
Right.
Do you arrive early? Do you go out in the city, sort of
it's
feel the community?
different. I try to stay away from people before I perform, because they think I'm an asshole. You know, they don't. You can't tell somebody I'm getting in their zone, because the minute you tell somebody you're trying to zone, they're gonna be like, "Oh, you're getting in your zone," so they still in your zone. You know, so I just try to get to a space where I feel comfortable, and it's a combination of me walking around. You know, one of the reasons I was out watching the show, because I love watching Doc perform. You know what I'm saying? I got caught up. I'm like, I was laughing at his shit so much, I forgot to get prepared. I was like, oh shit, hold on, I got to show you. You know, but I mean, with that said, as whatever success people consider I've had or whatever like that, but it goes back to people that like to watch real shit. It don't matter. You know, it don't matter if I have a higher profile than Doc now or whatever like that. You know what I mean? It don't matter if I travel more than him, get more shows, whatever. But he's a pro that I enjoy watching, because I travel so much. They give me so many whack features or whatever, and it's like it's just always good. And I still can learn stuff from him. You know what I'm saying? Even yesterday, one of the jokes he did, the bill joke about paying your bills. I've heard the joke before, but you can catch certain rhythms in it, right? And I noticed the rhythm that he hit with last night was different than I've seen before, but it was like almost like a dance. Like I got him, bop, 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 bam. I know, like he brought him in. One of the biggest critics I know is my dad. My dad don't like shit. Right? I gotta catch him laughing at my jokes. Right? And I saw him, he was in the back, he had his collar popped and shit. And then Doc was on stage, and I saw him hit a whole bunch of these, right? Yo, he was like, oh. And I want to go up to him and say, you know, don't laugh at his shit like that, man. And then the first thing, and then he was super critical of Brody. Because last year, Brody had one long ass joke about 2 Chainz. And my father used to call, whatever your joke was, that's what your nickname became. He said, you bring that 2 Chainz motherfucker in. He was like, and I kept telling Brody, I was like, you know, my dad waiting for you. And the first thing my dad said, man, my dad, everything starts with motherfucking. He was like, man, that motherfucking show was the best motherfucking show I seen in a minute. He said, that 2 Chainz nigga got his shit together. He said, you must have been on his ass, right? And even my mother said the same thing. She said, Brody stepped his game up, right? And then Doc was the fat doctor motherfucker. You know, but the fact that my dad appreciated the whole show, and people kind of see what I try to do with my shows. I try to give, as much as possible, try to keep it close to people I respect, and people I respect learn from, people that learn from me, and I want to see do better. So that's.
I noticed you was able to ping off of the audience. You had your family. The second show, I think your cousin and then Chitlin,
Yeah.
and then you had your mother and father. How is that when your family is in the audience? Do that make you just?
Oh, I prepared for them.
Okay.
Yeah. I prepared Thanksgiving Eve. I thought about all the jokes I was going to get out on their ass. They tried to bully me, and I knew they was trying to set me up, because none of my cousins was speaking to me or anything. They was walking past like, hi, Donnell. Oh. And I was like, oh, I think they about to set me up. So I just sat in the back and got all my little notes, everything everybody's eating. And I was like, I got to attack first, because I know if they get comfortable, and I'm telling you, once I immediately hit that table, they was standing straight up in attention. Everybody was in the military. They was like, okay, we don't want to do anything. But when I'll just put it with experience, when I was younger, and I think when they thought I was a comic 15 years ago, it was like, are you nervous? Are you worried? I'm like, I think y'all should be nervous on what I'm talking about, you guys. But I've had so many different experiences. And my hard drive is so many, because the more you do this, your whole hard drives, everything is going to go to the first drive. Some of it got to be stored and it come at the right time. But I had a different level of confidence now than when I was younger. When I was younger, I gave a fuck about what my family thought. As I got older, I didn't give a shit. Like, you trying to tell me that I can perform for 23,000 people, and then I'm worried about 7 people ruining my show? It's not going to happen. First off, I won't even focus on making you guys laugh. I'm focused on making the other people around you laugh. And if they bust their ass, you're not laughing, they gonna be like, damn, his family be hating like shit. So you just bring them into your world. And some things there'll never be an answer for. The only answer would be experience and trial tribulation and failing a lot. You learn so much when you fail.
Yes, indeed.
That's it.
Any more questions?
How do you prepare? Like, do you practice your stuff before you go on stage, or when you get the stuff, or?
I don't have those work ethics. And the reason why I say it, because I feel like I'm such a natural. Like, I really believe that if you're a natural comic, like, there's gonna be moments when all your material, nothing works. But then something has to trigger that inner comic where you feel confident, like, I'm a funny motherfucker, so something's gonna give. But I will, like, certain times I get excited about certain jokes. Like this weekend, I told myself I'm gonna try a different bit every night until I do 5 or 6 new bits. And I got 2 of them already. I'm gonna try another one. But I just do mental bullet points. I do believe that if I were more pen and pad, if I had, it would just be just crazy if I had that structure. You're gonna do this, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do this. I try to like let it come to me. But when I'm working with a lot of new stuff, I just try to look at a piece of paper or whatever before I go on and just remember what the key word is to get me there. You know, then as I'm doing a joke, the key to people, you'll see somebody like, man, it seemed like it was just all improv. It's improv in your brain. Best comics, even when you're in that moment of a joke, the best comics are the one, while he's in that joke, he's thinking about the next 2 jokes. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, this joke, I know I got 1 word, boom, transition to the next one, bam. And then once you start getting that flow, then you start getting natural callbacks. And another key to it is, I can't say this enough, having fun. Your brain is open to so much creativity when you're enjoying it as much as, it's like we've all had sex where one partner was into it, one wasn't, then one person's upset. It's like, I thought I was a good love maker. Right? And the reason why you're not good because you're not connected with that person. But hopefully we've all had the sex where everybody's been on the same page. And I know you've had it. He's like, I'll show you that sex right now. But that point where everybody's connected at the same time. And that's the comedic orgasmic feeling. And there's no, in my opinion, there's no better high than that. I've had some highs close to that, but that is.
I see a lot of comedians do crowd work. And for crowd work, do you got to have a very strong improv background?
You know, I don't think you have for crowd work, a lot of times you have to have some improv skills, but what makes some people do a lot of crowd work is fear. It's fear of not trusting your material. And it's like, you can do all the crowd. You can have a person, bro used to do shows, a lot of crowd work, right? And like me being overcritical, I'm like, yeah, you had them laughing for 12 minutes, but nobody's gonna remember anything that you said. So you have to make a conscious decision. Do you want to be known as that? I do always recommend, it's something, especially nightclub situation, it's something personal about you being in somebody's face, right? And they're like, you're a part of the show. But you can't use it as a crutch. You use that to establish your energy, and then you take it, and then you go back into your material. But then you go back when you get a lull or something. It's not wrong with. It's just like it's like a comedic timeout. You know what I mean? I just need a little timeout, let me play and come back. But that's just, or with the crowd work stuff, you can't teach a person improv crowd work. That's one of those things. Certain things in comedy, either you have it or you don't, and you can't be taught. You know. Your presence is just funny, man. Like when I say that, it's like, you know, you got the accent and everything, but you can see the funny. I could see your style of comedy. I'm like, he's like one of those guys that when producer or like exec look at him, sometimes they might not understand shit that he's saying, right? But his presence is just so powerful and so funny that you instantly start associating him with like other things. Like what was that guy, Kaufman?
Andy Kaufman?
Yeah, like. Don't get all as excited about what I'm saying. You got that quirky. Everybody has their own style. And the best thing is when you own your style. It's so easy for you to get you see like your favorite comedy, like I love him. After a while, it starts influencing you. But when you
Yeah.
can find yourself, that's when it's the shit.
I noticed also you were like current events. Do you do a lot of watching TV? Because initially, as I be doing my jokes now, I'm like, I don't want to watch a lot of TV because I don't want to look like because people say, oh, you remind me of Cheryl Underwood. Oh, you remind me of London. And how do you keep true to yourself, but also keeping into you, like you did the Paula Dean. I know you was able to intertwine that.
The people that you're saying, like those people, they're negative people. You can't even let them into your thought process. You know what I mean? You can't even. They can't. Nobody can be critical of you but yourself. You know. But I think it's a good thing. You have some comments that don't do any current events. I like to try to mix it up. You can show your intellect by talking about topics that people are afraid to or things that are current. And it lets people know that you're in the time, you're in the moment. You know what I'm saying? So you can't tell anybody what type of material you use, but I try to mix it up. You know, but at the same time, with anything that you do, have some type of punchline in it, because you could be mad about the war all you want, but you know, we're not politicians, we comics. So you got to have some type of even balance. Is it?
Let me just say something too. And Donnell, when he was coming up, I had two ways of teaching. When I taught Martin Lawrence basically what I'm teaching y'all. I didn't teach Donnell the same way because he didn't have the attention span to sit down, go A, B, C, D, you know, the way I'm teaching, and I didn't have everything as formatted as I do now, and I was way too hard on every comic, and he came through, and I was hard on him. And like he said, every time he thought he was somewhere, I say, well, you haven't done this, and you haven't done that. And he's so good creatively that I did not want to regiment him like I'm regimenting all of you, because he delivered so well from the style of his creativity, where I did not have to do that with him. And I had to just keep pushing on him and keep showing him what he wasn't doing. Instead of trying to teach him, I just kept trying to show him what he wasn't doing. And see, you never took spontaneity type of stuff. You never took any of that stuff because you're a different type of creative force. So is Tony Woods, a different type of creative force, wherein it would harm you at that particular time to relegate you to, okay, you learned this, and you learned this, and you learned this. But in retrospect, you will get more out of it now than you would have then.
Yeah, polishing it up.
Yeah, that's right. And a lot of things that you learn on your own without me teaching you. So, and the other
but
thing,
I will say I learned without teaching, but now if I looked at it, I was like, damn, I could have been so much further if I would have shut the fuck up and listened, man, but, you know.
Well, you can give him $20 now.
You won't be there for that potato salad, I mean. Is that cool? That's cool, Doc?
man, thanks so much for coming, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.